Hello you lovely lot, we are once again at the beautiful Cudmore Fisheries on the Arena Lake, where we're going to be doing some basics margin fishing. Now margins, it's a bit complicated sometimes on where best to fish them. Me personally, I don't want to be fishing margins where there's sort of like a build up of reeds and you know this, that and the other, where the fish can get in and you can't fish to them. So once the fish gets their heads into the reeds, you can't extract them because you can't get nowhere blooming near them. So what I want to focus on is fishing a margin where you can get into like the spare peg and next peg, or you know, there might be venues that you fish where the bank's been well maintained and there's no marginal vegetation or anything like that, and you can get into nice shallow water where it's not undercut, you know, where the banking's not undercut or anything. And that's what I'm focusing on. So we've set the GoPro up on the next peg to me, and I'm going to be fishing sort of like 30 meters into the spare peg where I've got around sort of 18 inches, something like that, perfect depth. Ideally, with the bait that I'm fishing, I don't want to be fishing anything over 2 foot. We'll come on to bait later on. Such a simple way of fishing, folks, but you've got to be doing it right, yeah? Obviously, I'll talk you through the pot first. I'm going to be feeding it through a feeding pot, you know, a proper pole pot first, rather than using a big toss pot, if you like. That's my preferred method, folks. If I was in matches, 100% I'd be doing that. But pleasure fishing, this, that and the other, if you're on your own, just going with a pot. As long as you're not putting too much bait in and you're strict on yourself and you've got to feed it every time. Once you get sort of like used to it and confident enough, that's when you can come back to feeding them. Because the trouble with feeding with these pots, you've got to be, this is going to sound wrong now, folks, but you've got to be inserting the bait in the right way. If you're not, you ain't going to catch, so it's going to take you a lot longer to get a bite. So we're going to focus on like a big pot. Most of these poles that you get these days come with a cupping kit, so just use your big pot for starters. So next thing, rig. This is so simple, folks. As always with me, I don't like to complicate anything. So first things first, elastic wise, we have got 17s Jura hybrid on this time, because margins being margins, that's where the big fish are going to gather, so you don't want to mess around. So we've got 17s elastic on there. Mainline 0.22, again we've got AccuPower mainline on, nice, strong, reliable, nearly 10-pound line, so nothing's going to damage it. Really robust. You know, should you hook these fish and there might be, you know, trees or something along the shelf, something like that, fish can go into them, but you can pull them out and there shouldn't be any damage on your line. You know what I mean? It's proper strong stuff. Next thing I want to focus on is, because I can potentially hide the pole over the peg, that's why I've only got a short bit of line pole tip to float with a single number 8 back shot on. I'll talk you more about this when we're actually fishing. Float wise, now we're getting down to the important stuff now, folks. I'm going to say you don't want to be fishing any lighter, regardless of depth of water, than like a 414s or around sort of like a 0.4 gram of a float. Now the reason for that is, when these big carp come into your peg and start wafting the fins and that, if you've not got your bait pinned down over your, sorry, if you've not got your rig and your hook bait pinned down over your loose fed bait, then it's just going to take you a lot longer to get a bite. You know, it's going to be wafting all over the place on too light a float. So make sure you're using quite a heavy float. In this case, pressing edge floats, the bang on for it. Nice thick bristle, and they will hold a nice heavy bait. Now you see there, we've plumbed up. Now I've plumbed up to sort of like bottom of the body of the float. And the things that you're looking for, and the other reason I've gone into a spare peg is obviously that's where the keep nets are going in, folks, yeah? So when they're coming out at the end of a session, they're going to be scouring that bottom out and they're going to be keeping it nice and sort of clean and free of vegetation and that. I'd always recommend, if you're allowed to, certainly like pleasure fishing, obviously check rules first though, but pleasure fishing, go in, put your hand in, make sure it's nice and flat, go in with a maggot tub and flatten it down, get rocks out and this, that and the other. Make sure you're fishing on a nice flat bottom, and that's what you'll find by fishing into spare pegs. So I plumbed it up to sort of like just at the bottom of the float, so we're on that curve, and then you can see down there, look how positive that rig is, folks. We've got 6 number 8 stots, and then we've got a 3-inch hook length, and it's 0.17 to a 14's XSH hook. And all I've done, folks, get rid of that rig for the minute, all I've done is, so there's one of the hooks. They come 6 inches, again, you know how much I love a pre-tied. They come 6 inches. I'll literally just put it in a hook retainer, 3 inches, and just fold a 3-inch hook length from that, and it's absolutely perfect. And I'd always recommend sort of a 3-inch hook length up to around 20 inches. Anything deeper than that, then go to 4 inches and potentially 6 inches. Doesn't matter, but it is literally that easy. The main thing with the margins is being patient. I mean, don't get me wrong, when you're on your own, you can put bait in and the fish will be on it straight away. But usually, certainly like for those match anglers of you out there, you're looking to get on this sort of like halfway through your session. So if you started at 10, you're looking, and the match finishes at 3, you're looking to get on it around sort of half 12. But, you know, if you're seeing signs, swirls and what have you, get on them straight away, folks, because the size of the fish, they can just like out trump everything else that you're going to catch. You like that out trump. So yeah, just get on them straight away, folks. And bait wise, in fact, we'll talk through bait now. Dead simple. All I've got honestly, it's my favourite ground bait for this time of year. I can't wait till summer comes around because I can use Sonny Bait's Power Scope X. Honestly, folks, it smells absolutely amazing. I've just got like a tiny handful of overweighted micros. I've put them in just so the fish have got something to grub around on. But basically, by putting a pot in, what we're looking to do, putting a little pile of ground bait in like that, and then hook bait. This is the beauty of using just ground bait, because you can use whatever hook bait you want. In my instance, I'm just going to use corn. So you can see a grain of corn over that just stands out better than anything. I love using corn as well, simply because it's a nice heavy bait. Is that too loud, Rich? Is that all right? It'd be all right. Because it's a nice heavy bait, it's going to stay put. And obviously with these big fish, you know, wafting the fins around, your bait's going to be potentially moving. I don't really like using baits like maggots or meat, anything like that, and expander, anything that's too light. Corn for me is number one. Now the other reason I love using ground bait is once you've hooked the fish, that just disperses into the water, and then you fish clean every time. So you go back in with another pot and you're fishing clean every time. You don't get that with micros, and I guarantee that's where some of you would have gone wrong in the past by using micros. You're getting that build up of bait, yeah, because it's proper bait that's going into the peg. Whereas ground bait, the fish can't physically eat anything. Obviously there's a tiny few micros in there, but nothing such. If you were just putting pure micros in, you're getting too many fish in your peg, then you get liners, foul hookers. Whereas using ground bait, you're fishing clean every time. It's a brilliant way of fishing. I can't wait to go and catch some great big wobbly ones. So I think without further ado, we need to go and snare some. Yeah!
Right, you lads, very sorry to interrupt your video watching.
How dare you?
Quickly, if you haven't already noticed, we have managed to write a book, haven't we?
Yes, we have,
Which
Jamie.
is full of all our very bestest methods and features or whatever else we do on this wonderful subject of fishing. So if you haven't had a look already, go and have a look at winningways.shop and buy one for yourself.
Can't wait then, folks, for this. First things first though, we need to go and get a little bit of feeding. So remember, I'm not using a big toss pot, cheeky. I'm going to use our cupping kit. So I'm not going to put loads of bait in. I think this is an area certainly where a lot of anglers go wrong. Me certainly, folks, I love feeding, as you know, but I'm not going to put loads in. I'm going to mimic sort of like a small pot. So I'm going to put in little tiny bit, but really overwet ground bait. And it's worth mentioning how good this ground bait is in respect that it's really overwet. So basically the Power Scope X is 1-to-1. So I've literally just got a full 1.1 tub of ground bait, a full 1.1 tub of water, mix them together, 15-20 minutes, put it through a riddle, and that's what you're left with. You're left with that really overwet, consistent ground bait. So I've not boiled it, it's just in there. I'm not going to put any corn in. I'm literally just going to put that ground bait in loose. That's the first thing I'm going to do, folks, is go out. So it's probably not even a quarter of a pot. Yeah, the smallest sort of like feed pot, if you like, not even a quarter of a pot. Now, another thing to bear in mind is choosing your markers. It's so important that you're fishing to the same spot every time. So what I've got, when I come on to me, when I get to the joint of my pole, my little babby extension, I'm lining it up with this knob on my on my keep net bar, yeah? And then likewise, when I'm on the peg there, I've got a post. Well, Richard's got his blooming GoPro right in front of it, but I've got a post, and I'm right in the middle of the post, which is obviously used for holding the sleeper in on the peg. So, first things first, get to me. Oh, I've got a big blooming load of weed going in. I'll get rid of that in a sec. First things first, I've got my joint on my knob on my keep net bar, yeah, on my keep net holder retainer things, and then I've got the post there. I'm going to go right into the middle of that. Now, so important, folks, I'm just sneaking this bait in. I don't want to make any commotion whatsoever. So you see that ground bait coming out there? That's all I want to do. I don't want to go in and put my blooming pot in or anything like that. I'm just going to move this weed bed here ever so slowly. I think, again, this is another difference with F1s and carp. F1s, you can make a bit of noise, they love it. But with carp, if you're being a bit too noisy or a bit too clumsy and, you know what I mean, clunky, you're definitely going to spook these big crafty fish. Just bring that back. Just move that out of the way because the wind's coming into that peg there. Don't want that to go back. Now what we've got, folks, is a 5 to 10 minute window, obviously depending on what comes first. And what I mean by that is, if we don't get a bite, I'm going to leave it sort of 5-10 minutes and I'll come back and put some more bait in. Now if I was to catch a fish, I'd come back and I'd feed straight again after I've caught a fish. If we get a big sort of like commotion going on, a big bow wave or a big swirl or something like that, then come back, feed it again, because your trap has been dislodged, if you like. At the minute, imagine I put that ground bait in, that's going to be sitting on the bottom like that. Now what I want to do is go in my rig and put my hook bait right over it. So that's what I'm going to do, nice and quick. Everything's got to be within, as I said, 10 minutes. So on with a grain of corn, just literally just nicking it through the side like so. I'll show you a lovely lot down there. Is that on, Richard? Oh, I've smudged it now. I've pressed it. Do apologise, folks. I think you can still see it though. But literally just coming on through the side on that. Give that a bit of lubrication. It's so much quicker using a big pot rather than a little babby one. But I think speed-wise, obviously, again for like match conditions, it's a lot quicker using a little babby toss pot on that. You know what I mean? Rather than a big pot. But not that it matters for these size of fish. So first things first. This is where everything makes a massive difference now, presentation wise. First thing I want to do is get lined up with a marker. So joint on me knob there, so you can see a fish there straight away. I want to put that rig in there and then drop it there, so that's right over my bait now. Now the most important thing is that I keep my float right over my bait. Yeah, I do not want that to move at all. So things that I'm looking for now is big swirls, bow waves, if I bump a fish, and that means I've got to come back and feed again. You notice I've got quite a bit of bristle showing. That does not bother me in the slightest fishing with carp, folks. It really doesn't, because the bites are just amazing. Like that. It's so good, isn't it? But in one there is why you use ground bait and not micros. You imagine micros, what they do, they like go down the bank, this on the bank, into the bank, just get an accumulation of fish. What's happened with that ground bait? It's just sort of where's he going? It's just sort of dispersed into the water, yeah? So all that commotion, that's what I want. That's why I give it a big wallop. All that commotion. One, the water colours up so it attracts more fish, but the other reason is your ground bait's dispersed, so you're fishing clean every time. So what I'm going to do when we get this, they're so angry, folks. This is why you've got to use gear for them, you know what I mean? So stronger elastic, stronger lines. What I'm going to do, as soon as we get this fish in, we're going to go back in with another little babby pot and do the same again. I know we didn't get any liners. Oh my days, what is going on with this? I know we didn't get any liners then. What is going on? Let's lift it high, try and change the blooming trajectory on it, folks. That's ridiculous. They're so angry. Maybe should have gone on a lighter elastic so they wouldn't have fought as hard, but yeah, you get some big fish down the margins. You've got to, really. I don't even know what it was on about then. Yeah, when we've got this fish in, we'll go straight in with a pot. Now, I couldn't sort of like go through what not to strike at then, because obviously we've had that fish come in, seen the corn, he's nailed it. But we will get it where, certainly later on into the session, you know, when you get a few fish coming in, you'll get like little dinks on your float, and it's very important you don't strike at them. And that's the beauty of using sort of a heavier rig, you know, a heavier float. It sort of eliminates them bites that you strike at on a lighter float, because your float would go under. Yeah, by having a heavier float, it keeps that float basically sat exactly where you want it until you get that proper, the carp sucking your bait in, that float going under at a million mile an hour. Oh, it's so good, folks, isn't it? So good. But how angry is that blooming fish? As I said, that's why you've got to fish heavy. So again, always unship twice on these big carps, folks, yeah? Never bring your pole all the way back, because if suddenly they shoot out, you can follow the fish out. Shouldn't really need to use that much pulling because of obviously the elastic, but I'm still going to. Nice big landing net says, oh, you didn't like that pull. You didn't like that pull. So this in one is why you break down twice, folks. Yes, you can follow them out. Oh my days, lift it high. What is he doing? What is he doing? Oh my days, they're so angry. to bring this round, folks. I need to bring this round and get them on. Oh. That's ridiculously angry. That's why you break down twice, folks, just in case they shoot out that. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It didn't look that blooming big either. It's just blooming angry. It's going to be a ghosty or a common, isn't it? Where is he going? I do apologise, folks, for putting sections on, but you've got to do it sometimes, you know what I mean? Rich might think that's worthy of a certain group, but you've got to put sections on. So again, bring him back and keep that pole nice and low. I can't believe how angry that was. Didn't think it was foul hooked. It looked like a nice clean bite. Just blooming off the whatsits, these fish, folks. Come on, be big enough after all this. Oh yeah, he's a nice one actually. Oh, look at the size of that, folks. That's why we love fishing the margins. That's got to be £10 that. That is a ridiculous fish. Again, right, just be careful with it. It's just wrapped himself around my blooming rig at the minute, folks. So I've not done what I always say to do. But what we'll do, we'll bring that net back again, bring it up into your lap, and then trap the fish gently with your legs. But what I'm going to do first is just make sure that I get that rig out, lift him up, bring him up from under its peck, and then trap him there. That's it, he's trapped. So we'll get the hook out, and I want to show you this one, folks, because that is an absolute stunning popular carp. Let's give him a bit of a rinse. He's still pretty angry, but I'm going to attempt to pick him up for you. He's getting on for 10. He must be £10 in. Look at the size of him. Look at the width on that. Look at him, folks. What an absolutely stunning creature that is. Beautiful in that sun. I'm giving myself £10 and 2 ounces for him. So again, big fish like that, that's proper fought well, make sure regains its composure and then release him. Oh, what a fish. Right, so match conditions, you know, we'll get straight back in it. Pleasure fishing wise, exactly the same, but obviously just take your time, you know what I mean? You're knowing full well that ground bait's dispersed, there's no accumulation of bait, just going back in with the same amount of bait. So we've got that much bait, yeah, you're just sort of mimicking how much bait would be in like a large sort of toss pot on that. If you're confident with how you're putting the bait in and feeding, you know, fish through one of them. But if you're not, just feed through your big pot and then you can't go wrong. Yeah, it's just nice and simple because it's all settled when you come back basically. But there'll be days when you put the ground bait in, come back, go back out with your rig and there's no bait left there. They can proper have it sometimes, these fish. What a carp that was. So again, just take your time when you're shipping out. First things first, remember, line up with your markers. So joint on there, and I'm on that post, but it's this bit here, folks. You've really got to take your time when you're putting this bait in. I can't stress that enough. There we go. No commotion at all. Yeah. Put that bait in, pull your pole away. So nice and quick now. Come back. And we get another grain of corn on. Let's see if we can catch another one. So I'll check that rig. That rig's all right. I've got a little mark on my pole. It's lined up to it. Yep, he's all right. Another grain of corn on. I can't believe how angry that fish was. Ridiculous. And then we go back in again. Go on the carps. Go on the wobblers. So first things first, line up with our marker, which is there. Bait in a little bit out and just sink them weights and then bring it over. So we're right on it now, and then we just wait. So you can see what I mean about that platform I've got there, or the spare peg if you like. I can hide my pole over it or rest my pole on top of it if you like. So that's why I've only got a short bit of line on. If I had too long a line, I wouldn't be able to do that because my float would be all over the place. But it's this bit here. Hopefully we'll get a few like little dinks this time, so I can show you what to avoid and obviously what to strike. You'll have it sometimes where the fish come in and you obviously see there's one there now, it's just moving around a little bit. But it's not been, see how quick that bite was. Yeah, you knew it was a proper bite because of how quick it was. Anything slow or to the side, we knew there was a fish there because it's just sort of like kicked it out. Anything slow or to the side, ignore it. How good is this, folks? It's like, I love carps. I just love fishing. But this is amazing, isn't it? So again, unship on that one. Don't think this is as big, but you never know on here. Oh yeah, he's woke up. He's woke up. I'm going to say usually the bigger ones don't fight as blooming hard, but they're just ridiculous. Again, keep everything nice and low. And again, big wallops when you're getting the bites, yeah? I think the fact that when you get that fast bite, it automatically makes you give it a big wallop anyway. Oh yeah, he's a big one as well. He's a big one. Not as angry as that other one, but it's still large. Do you see I'm keeping that fish low, yeah? Never lift your pole high. I mean, I did before on that first one, but that was just to try and change the fish's direction with how fast it was going. The lower you keep it, the higher up in the water they come, and they don't really fight as hard. Oh, that's even bigger. Oh my days, folks, what's going on? That's 2 carp we've had for over 20 pound in like, what, 5 minutes? Ridiculous. Oh, the hook's come out in the net. Good, bonus. So, let's bring him in. Oh my days. That's got a right belly on him. That's 12 pounds. I'm not going to hold this one up, folks. I'm going to get him back because that's spawning, but just shows you the size of them. Look at that. Absolute stunning popular carp. Make sure she's all right. She's all right. So, I don't need to show you anything else because that, in a nutshell, is margin fishing for you. The difference between anything else, you know, the size of the fish, how patient you need to be to build it up, but when they're having it, you just get straight on it and everything. There's no commotion there, anything like that. And you've seen it, there's probably 2 fish there in 5 minutes for 21, 22 pounds. Ridiculous. And obviously going into the last hour, certainly from a match perspective, that's what you're looking for, you know what I mean? I've seen it before, I've done it myself where I've caught up to 100 pounds in an hour, you know what I mean? When these big fish rock up, you've seen that one fought completely different. I think the bigger the fish, they sort of wallow, they don't really fight hard, whereas the sort of 4 to 8 pound fish, they just go absolutely nuts. And that 10 pound cone we had first, but the bigger the fish, they don't fight as hard, but you've got to be geared up for them. And in the one, you've seen why, because they're blooming massive. So I hope you've enjoyed it, folks. Get out there, give it a try. Please, please, please don't forget, like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and obviously that's going to tell you when we're putting these fantastic videos out for you. I'm going to catch me some more edge dwellers now. Yeah!